Tonight, Aurora is getting ready to mark 11 years since the tragedy at the movie theater. 13 souls lost, 70 injured. A sergeant with Aurora Police was responsible for supervising that massive investigation, getting justice for those families. 9 News reporter Kelly Rinke sat down with him today for the first time. He's sharing his story, reflecting on that night 11 years ago. Kelly.
Yeah, hey Kim, well, a vigil in honor of those victims is going to take place here at the memorial at midnight. We're only about a half-mile away from that movie theater. Matthew Fyles is no longer with the department, but a case that he spent years of his life on is something he can't leave behind.
7/20/2012 is a significant date for the city of Aurora, and it certainly was for me and my team.
Even as more time passes, details never seem to fade.
We already had 11 people down, and that was the information we had as we were responding.
Matthew Fyles remembers waking up to that call 11 years ago. There was a shooting at a movie theater in Aurora. He led the police department's major crimes unit for only 6 months before taking on the biggest case of his career.
They felt chaotic. They felt stressful. It was fairly common for us this, sometimes sleep in the office, you get 4 hours and then go back to it. With Century 16, it was that way for weeks.
Weeks of work turned into years as Fyles supervised the investigation from tragedy to trial.
I think it was very difficult on my ex-wife and my daughter. I think she was young, so she was 8 years old. All suffered as a consequence of that night. And so that victimization was widespread. It's like ripples.
He can't forget the ones who suffered most, the families of the 12 people and the unborn baby killed, and the ones who were seriously hurt.
But for the living victims that have to change the entirety of their lives, their relationships that they've had to that point, and all the relationships that they have in the future are different. That was the hardest thing.
With 70 injured, Fyles felt a huge responsibility to give his community a guilty verdict.
But I dream about that having, and I did early on, that I would somehow miss something and we would fail in that regard. It was a weight off my shoulder. And I don't remember hearing all the verdict. I just remember the first one of guilty. And then the reading of all the rest of the charges was just noise to me.
July 20th brings reflection. 11 years later, Fyles keeps thinking about the team who helped his city find some justice.
It's important for everyone to reflect back and say, what's representative of the Aurora Police Department? Well, 7/20/2012 is.
And Fyles also talked about how many stories were never shared during the trial because there were just so many people involved, 200,000 pages of discovery. He talked about an officer who transported a woman who was pregnant at the time to the hospital, and Kim, he says the couple ended up naming their baby after that officer.
Oh my gosh. And to hear his story finally, so important. All of these people that responded to that are forever changed.
Yeah, and he talked about, the reason he didn't talk about it back then was because he wanted to protect the integrity of that investigation. That was his primary focus.
Absolutely. Wanted justice. Thank you, Kelly.